Hello all, I'm Sai and in today's video I'm going to recommend to you some Indian books for beginners. I've made multiple books for beginners videos in the 5 years that I've been making videos in this channel, and all of them are compiled in a playlist. I'll try to link the playlist in the description, but I'm doing this video in specific because not even in one of those videos I've made recommendations that are specific to Indian books alone. I have different genres here and I have a total of 8 books, so no matter what genre you're interested in, you'll definitely get some really good picks from here. The reason I'm recommending Indian books also is because almost all of our Indian authors are super underrated and they are not being read as much, not just in the world but in our country itself. I've been trying and focusing to read more of Indian books this year than I've done in any year before, and I'm finding some really beautiful books. That's the reason behind making Indian book recommendations for beginners in specific here. So having said that, without any further ado, let's get into the books right away. The first book that I'm going to recommend to you today is a new adult romance book, and it is super simple to read. It's also a very small book, just over 200 pages long, and I finished reading this book on my commute to and from work in a single day. It is She Friendzoned My Love by Sudeep Nagarkar. Now in this book, we follow our main character Apur, and all the characters whom we see here inside this book are either in the final year of their school or in the first year of their college. It happens just within 1 or 2 years of a time span. So the thing about Apur was that each and every time he goes forward and tries to ask out a girl, he ends up being friendzoned by them. And especially right now when he's in college, in the first year of college, he's very much attracted to this girl named Amira, and she's also kind of the eye catcher for everyone inside the college. So what's going to happen for Apur when he tries and approaches Amira is the main plot that we see here. Along with this, we also have the story of Apur's friend named Sia, which is happening parallelly to his. It might sound like a very basic story, but the author has done really good representation of multiple things inside this book, and all of that have been done by him within a short span of just 200 pages. I cannot say that the representations and things that he tries to explore are done in depth inside the book, but to the extent to which he builds them up in the short amount of time that he gives for the characters inside the book is just awesome. It's a very chill, light-hearted book, and if you're a complete beginner who wants to read something which is fun to read, easy to read, at the same time a bit emotional at times, you should definitely go forward and give this a try. Next, we have a middle grade fantasy book, which is Astra, The Quest for Star Song by Aditya and Arnav Mukherjee. In this book, we follow our main character, Varkan, who's this crown prince of the kingdom of Ashmaka, which is a small part of ancient time India. And the story is written in such a way that it is happening during the time of the Ramayana, but it is not related to the Ramayana in any way. Ravana is the antagonist inside the story also, but he is not making that much of an appearance in any way. The main plot of the series is that Varkan has been kept in kind of house arrest by his uncle because his father, who's the king, has died, and his mother's mental condition is not right, so she's been secluded and kept away. So for the past few years, Varkan has been kind of kept in a royal prison, if you can say. And at the beginning of the book, we see that Varkan's uncle comes forward and releases him from the house arrest because other people from different other kingdoms are going to come and visit Ashmaka, which is the kingdom that Varkan is about to rule. And from then on, what all happens in the story is what we see here. The history of the world is nice and the writing is super easy to read. It's perfect for anyone who's 8 and above in age to go forward and read because it's so simple and you need not think much basically. By saying that, I don't see that the story is very basic in any way, okay? It's really nice. It's really thought out and written. It's not like a very straightforward story. There are multiple things that happen inside the book, and there is also multiple twist elements that we see here, which the main character as well as the people who are helping him have to go forward and resolve in order to get to their goal. It also feels like the beginning of a series, but it is a standalone book for now. So if you're someone who's interested in fantasy but wants to take it in a very low-key and relaxed way, you should definitely try reading Astra, The Quest for Star Song. I have a dedicated review for this book. If I have reviews for any of the other books that I'm recommending in this video, all of them will be linked in the description. Just go forward and watch them if you're interested. Next, we have a couple of non-fiction books which are self-help. Of these, the first one is a personal finance book, and it is Let's Talk Money by Monika Halan. This was one of the best self-help books or non-fiction books in general which I read in 2024, and it's very beginner friendly. If you're someone who's very new to finance and if you're just starting out with your career, I'd suggest you to go forward and read this book right away because I think it can open up a lot of financial doors for you and help you build your assets in a much more conscious way and knowing stuff rather than just going with assumptions from the knowledge transferred from other people. In this book, the author basically teaches us how we as Indians in our current economy can go forward and save money, build the money that we have, and make that money earn for us in the future. She even tells us of many strategies that we can go forward and inculcate in order to start saving money. It's not like there's no money to be saved at the end of a month. It just requires proper organization and planning. The book is very practical in its approach, and it does not use that many jargons which cannot be understood by laymen like us. So if you're someone who wants to read a good personal finance book that is even more appropriate for our Indian market and Indian economy, you should definitely go forward and try reading Let's Talk Money by Monika Halan. Next, we have 2 books from a single non-fiction series, and it is is 13 Steps to Bloody Good Wealth by Ashwin, Sanghi and Sunil Dalal and 13 Steps to Bloody Good Luck by Ashwin, Sanghi alone. In both of these books, the author or authors talk about building luck and building wealth in a stepwise manner in the way that can be understood by readers of all categories and all age ranges. So I suggest you to go forward and read this book specifically, which is 13 Steps to Bloody Good Wealth. If you are even in your 8th standard, okay, you can go forward and start reading this book, because trust me, if you have this knowledge and if you practice it properly, by the time you're 30, I think that you can be very, very safe financially at least. And in this book, which is 13 Steps to Bloody Good Luck, the author talks about how luck can be practically built by us. This is a very pragmatic book, okay? There's no spiritual things here. There is no toxic positivity or toxic motivation at all in any way. He talks about things that can really happen in life and how luck is mostly built by us and it can be created by us rather than just sitting down and waiting for things to happen. Both of these have very, very practical approaches, and the ways in which the authors have broken down the steps into small chunks which can be digested by the reader in a very short amount of time is really, really fascinating to read. Also, the writing of the authors here is very, very simple, so you need not worry about not being able to understand certain things that the authors talk about here, because each and everything that the authors talk about is very, very easily understandable. If you've read any of Ashwin Sanghi's books itself, you will know that he writes really, really good stories or really, really good books, but he writes them in a way that it can be read and understood by literally anyone. You just need to know English in order to go forward and read these books. And trust me, once you spend a little amount of time reading them, the amount of benefits that you'll reap out of them will be manifold. Next, we have a collection of short stories. This is non-fiction, but it reads more like fiction. That's why I'm saying short stories, okay? Because it is kind of a memoir of the author, but it feels like a short story collection for me. It is Onam in a Nightie by Anjana Menon, in which the author talks about her life along with her family during 2020 and 2021 during the pandemic in her hometown in Kerala. Now, the author and her brother have been working in Delhi, and once the lockdown is announced, after a few weeks or months, they get the chance to go back home and stay with their family in their own home. So what all happened in their life is all that the author talks about inside this book, and it is really, really beautiful, okay? Especially if you're someone whose native is Kerala, trust me, you will enjoy this book like anything. My native is Kerala, okay? I'm a Tamil, but our nativity is Palakkad, which is between Tamil Nadu and Kerala, and almost everything that the author talks about here are things which we have seen in my own family. So it was so much fun to read. I'm not saying the COVID aspects of it, but the cultural aspects of it. It's very, very fun and nice to read, and you just get to know a lot more about the culture of Kerala and the culture of the Malayalis while you're reading this book. It is so much fun. The author's writing is just amazing, okay? It is beginner friendly, but it will just make you feel the vibes of Kerala really, really well as you're reading the story or stories. Even the cover of the book is super minimal, but when you start reading this book, you'll not be able to put it down at all. Again, a very short book. You can finish this in just a day or two. So yeah, if you're someone who wants to read something from the southern part of the country in specific, you should definitely go forward and read this book. Next, we have a non-fiction series. Okay, there are only 3 books inside the series, and you can read all of these 3 books in a very breezy way. They are super chill. They are very, very easily understandable, and you can just fly through these books and enjoy them very, very much. And saying non-fiction, you can enjoy. Okay, just see how good they will be. And the series is Devlok with Devdutt Pattanaik by Devdutt Pattanaik. So now the series is basically a TV show that was done by Devdutt Pattanaik in order to establish Hinduism and its concepts in a more understandable way to the audience in Epic TV. And I think these books have been transcribed from that show, if I'm not wrong. There are 3 books, books 1, 2 and 3. All of them are named Devlok. So this is basically just a crash course on Hinduism and the different religions and cultures of our country, which is India. Each and every one of the books is just around 200 pages long. The third book is just 150 pages, and the second one is just over 200 pages. And the first one, I think, is not even 200 pages long. So you can read all of these 3 in just a week's time. And of all the books that I'm recommending today, this series is my most recently read one, so I have it even more fresh in my memory. I'd say that if you've not read any book by Devdutt Pattanaik before this at all, you can go forward and start with the series, because it just gives you a really good taste of his writing in specific, which is super easy to understand. At the same time, talks about Hinduism and the different religions of our country in a very scientific and practical manner rather than just having the spiritual aspect of them. It is not completely based on faith, but the explanation and symbology behind each and everything that we have practiced over generations. He's definitely one of my favorite authors from our country, and I have read a few books by him until now. But after reading the series, I just want to read even more from him, because I can see the level of writing that he has and the amount of detail that he gives to the content that he's putting it in. So yeah, if you're someone who's interested in Indian mythology in specific, you should definitely try reading Devlok by Devdutt Pattanaik. Next, we have a short story collection, and it is also a horror short story collection. I've recommended this a couple of times already in the channel, but trust me, I'm recommending it again because it is super easy to read, but definitely out of the world. I've not read any horror book like this, and it works even more for us because it's Indian horror. Okay, it's just so fun to read, which is Ghosts of the Silent Hills by Anita Krishan, which is a collection of 10 Indian ghost short stories written by the author. I just bought this book basically because it was available for a cheap price on one day on Amazon, and trust me, ever since I read this book, I've not been able to not go forward and reread this again. Okay, I want to reread this so bad, but I want to do it during the rainy season because it will just be perfect for that season. The author basically narrates us ghost stories from various hill stations of our country, and it is super good. Okay, it's not scary in a way that you will not want to read anything by the author again, but it is scary in a way that you'll just want to keep reading because you want to know what bad thing is going to happen next, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat. I enjoyed each and every short story in this one, and of all the 10 short stories, one alone happens in Australia and the other 9 happen inside India itself, so it's mostly Indian. The author has also come up with another horror short story collection, which I'm not wrong, just a couple years back. I have not read that yet, but this one I thoroughly enjoyed. Each and every short story inside this one is perfect. Okay, I cannot say anything lacking about this collection at all. I just want the author to go forward and write a full-length horror novel because I think she can do it really well. The writing is simple but super beautiful to read. While you're reading the story, you can just see that the writing glides like butter on a hot pan. It's that silky and that smooth. Before I go forward and hype it even more, just read it already. And finally, when I'm talking about Indian books for beginners, if I don't talk about this author, it will be a crime. Okay, it will literally be a hate crime, and it is The Secret Wishlist by Preeti Shenoy, in which we follow our main character Deeksha, and she is a married woman in her early 30s right now. And Deeksha was married off at a very early age, I think when she just finished college, because of a relationship that she was in when she was 16 years old in school. Her family is very conservative and traditional, and because of this, they just try and get her married off to the first man who is rich and can take care of her properly. Deeksha is also very shamed because of the things that her family put through during that young age, and she goes forward and marries the man that they want her to marry. She has a son with him, and in her early 30s, she gets to see that she's not treated properly by this man or her own family inside this marriage, and she starts to explore certain things which are starting to make her feel happy. While she's experiencing these different things, she also starts to have an extramarital relationship with a man. What all happens in that relationship and how Deeksha starts to take her life in her own hands is what we see here. It is a very realistic story, and when you're reading this book, you'll be able to understand why Deeksha is doing some of the things that she does and how it is literally happening to so many people, especially so many women in our own society. It is realistic, it is engaging to read, and it is also a really well written story. So if you want to read a very good romance book but which is not at all normal in its way, it goes out of the normal and shows us relationships in different leagues and different beautiful ways, you should definitely try reading The Secret Wishlist by Preeti Shenoy. So yes guys, those are all the Indian books which I wanted to recommend for beginners today inside this video. If you've read any of these books, please do let me know your opinions of them in the comments below because I'd like to discuss with you. And if you have any other such Indian books which are suitable for beginners, please tell those also down in the comments so that I as well as other people who are going through the comments can get some recommendations from you guys. And if you did find this video useful and enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.